I'm Ryan Kemp. This is KEMP'S Hemp, Benefits Beyond the Buzz. Today we're here with Josh Loyal with Mighty Kind. Exploring inner outer space, Josh.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we got kind of a long history, probably known each other, close to 20 years now at this point, mostly in the music community. I've been a big fan of Pops Blue Moon since day one, definitely supporting local musicians and helping getting projects, giving projects kind of a place to develop themselves and get a foothold in the music community. I always respected you for that. Loyal brands, everything. Loyal family is another thing that you've been putting out there for how many years now? Maybe as long as I've known you.
Right about that time, yeah.
Today I just kind of wanted to talk maybe more about branding and how that, how important that is in this industry as far as hemp goes, as far as music goes, and what's your thoughts on that? How did you get started, and how did that become a brainchild for you?
Awesome. I'm happy to chat. I'll talk all day.
Right on. Tell us about Loyal Brands or Loyal Family and where that kind of came from.
Yeah, I guess I can just go back a few years. I've been in the bar business and in the nightclub business and event space for over 20 years, and a few years ago just found myself really needing something else. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily want to leave that space, but I needed something else in that space to keep me interested. The heavy focus on alcohol was just kind of boring me, mm-hmm. more than anything, I think. And I decided to take a break from alcohol kind of as a social experiment, to force myself into different circles of friends and work relationships. Everything kind of revolved around alcohol for, almost 20 years at that point. Mm-hmm. So I took off drinking myself. In doing so, had a friend say, "Hey, I just got this graphic design job for a non-alcoholic craft beer company. And they're based in St. Louis, and they're just getting ready to start." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool. That's different. Mm-hmm. Kind of fits into what I'm looking for." It's like I could still promote music, still be around all the people I love and all the, all the art and creativity. And, but it was like a different lane. Mm-hmm. I kind of like to say it's like a little light in the corner of kind of a dark room.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
And so I just fell in love with the whole idea of non-alcoholic beverages and being in a space and creating brands that are socially acceptable, for lack of better words. Not that I don't think you need to be accepted really or whatever, but I think it's fun to create something that challenges that acceptance.
Yep. I know the rest of the team on the episode we recorded yesterday, we kind of started diving into the sobriety movement that's happening. Forgot to introduce our team here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Cassie Pope, Kyle Ray.
What's up, y'all?
And we talked about Pops Blue Moon and, how that's kind of been leading by example by, offering your, what did you call it? Sober Saturdays or?
We started out calling it NA Saturday, for non-alcoholic Saturday. Mm-hmm. But really didn't push the sober thing too much. That's not really been a word that I've pushed, sobriety personally. Mm-hmm. I respect it, more than anything, but for me, it's just an alternative. I push the alternative world.
NA's a little more all-inclusive, whereas right. Sobriety's kind of like we're in the sobriety club, right?
Yeah. And I'm trying to be all-inclusive. I want everyone to feel at home, whether you're a drinker or not. I want these beverages to feel right for you.
Well, man, to say this, everything that you've done so far seems to help the people around us. Because Matt included yesterday, it was off the podcast. We talked about how CBD seltzers give us an opportunity to drink something socially while not feeling so inclined to drink alcohol. So, pretty much all the seltzers I'm aware of in St. Louis have come from the help of your hand. And I think it's pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you.
It's definitely been interesting to see this tide kind of turn between a lot of our friend group too. Now that there's options available, how much easier it is to walk into an establishment mm-hmm. that's serving alcohol and have an option to go do something else, and you still want to hang out with people and friends, and that seems to be like a social meeting point, especially revolving around music.
Yeah, we as soon as we brought that menu to Pop's Blue Moon, we did Saturdays where they were exclusively booze free and just proved that you don't even need it in the room at all. And that like, I didn't want to exclude alcohol, but that was needed to like prove to people that you could do it. Because it was just like, well, how do you even stay open? And it's like, here's what you do, and here's the drinks that you offer, and you offer things with love and creativity, and that's what people are looking for. Like, even if 9 out of 10 alcohol drinkers or whatever are like, I wouldn't drink that without alcohol in it. Like, if it's the right time and the right moment and the right flavor and the right name and glass and all those things, that person may be surprised at how much they enjoy that.
It's interesting you bring that up, because on the group, the non-alcoholic group on Facebook, I've seen a couple people commenting about how like it doesn't have alcohol in it. And one of your comments that stuck out to me was, it's interesting to see beer drinkers say they only drink beer for the alcohol. Because especially in St. Louis, you're looking at a whole classification of people who talk about why they like the certain beer. It's bitter, it's sweet. So it's like interesting to see that there's different types of drinkers, but definitely it's an antiquated mindset. You're drinking beer just for alcohol. Like, come on, get with it.
It's really interesting to see someone actually type those words out in a beer group of people that are constantly, like you said, talking about the 50 things they like about that beer.
Right.
And then there's somebody that literally can take the time out to type out, I only like the alcohol. It's like, well, I think you're in the wrong group.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, that's an alcohol group. That's really not a beer group.
Yeah.
And I think, it's when I was helping launch that, the NA beer craft beer thing, a few years ago, that was brand new. It was a new concept. You'd walk into a bar and you're like, yeah, I have an NA craft beer that tastes good. And they're like, what? That's not even a thing, man. And it is now.
I think when that was kind of when I was getting sober, and because there were, like, looking back, there were no options that really tasted good. So it was kind of like, the thought was like, if you're drinking NA beer and you're sober, it's because you're just like trying to relive the experience and there's no benefit. So it's been really awesome to see, like, just where I've evolved in the past 4 years and what I feel comfortable with, and then seeing how these alternatives being present is just really paving a pathway for people to be able to make a choice. And it's been so inspiring for us to just see people reaching out, asking questions, and now they're like, oh yeah, I'm easing up on the alcohol. It's not like we're not hating on alcohol really, but it's for so long has just been the only option.
Sure.
I mean, it's cool to
even
see.
in the bar, like that classic line, I've had enough, I need to go home. Like, that's just an alcohol. That's because there's no alternatives that are satisfying. Like, as soon as there's a satisfying alternative, it's like, okay, I've had enough. I should drink this now. Like, you can still hang out. You could still do all the things you were doing except for the alcohol. And it's so interesting how that line is just a given for so many people. It like comes out with, I think, them not even thinking about what they're saying. It's like, do you want anything else to drink? And they're just like, no, I've had enough. It's like, you've had enough of what? Let's think about that just a little further. And then it's like, oh, there's this whole world of drinks. And that's like what I think I was going to say earlier about the Blue Moon. When we added that menu, it wasn't just the Saturday nights, the booze-free nights that you would see people choosing those drinks. It was every night of the week. And it was like, even drinkers were like, I'm going to stay and have another one. I'll have one of those. And then the next day they're like, I felt pretty good this morning after having that last night. I really feel like, and then they're like, I'll take a 4-pack home with me.
The more you can help.
You just educated somebody by putting an option out there.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt, but I was just saying, the more that you could help people experience that social interaction without alcohol being the lubricant, the more they can start to see that what they really desire is just communal. They want to be with people. Maybe they don't feel comfortable doing it without alcohol. Hemp is one of those things that for me can kind of help grease those wheels a little bit and help me feel comfortable in a space, and then wake up the next morning and feel great,
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I was going to ask about what's your thoughts on, again, back to the non-alcoholic spirits page that we're all, I think, a part of that group on the social interwebs. Is it still taste like alcohol? Like, is that the taste that they're going for with the spirits side of things, you think?
Yeah,
yes and no. I mean, I think just like everything, there's a wide spectrum of interest there. I mean, for every person that wants, I would say the curious, the people that are coming to that page and that group initially, over half are probably saying, what's a good vodka alternative? What's a good whiskey alternative? What's a good tequila alternative? Because that's all you have to think about.
But do you think that they're looking for something that tastes similar but doesn't have the effect, or like something?
And I would
that
say yes. So those people, yes. But there's a whole growing, there's a world of drinkers out there that just want something that tastes good on its own. It doesn't have to be like anything. A lot of them have never had alcohol, so they don't even have that alternative thing to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, we just want to experience what all those people experience with their fancy drinks and their palates and, all this, like, all these different complexity, all this textures and all this stuff. Like, you can't, like whipping an egg yolk and getting a nice froth on your drink has always been for alcohol. It's like,
Right.
why would you put all that fancy work into something that's not going to get you drunk? And now it's kind of like that question is kind of like almost becoming like answering itself as you say it. It's like, wait, that doesn't sound like it did 5 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like now it's like it's becoming more well known and just a given that there's options there. And there's the tide is slowly turning that, I don't know, maybe quickly turning at this point, because I think it's gaining a lot of momentum, that there's just the awareness that there are other ways to look at it, at drinking in general.
And as you're saying that, and I feel like maybe, I don't know if it's a collective sense of relief, but there does seem to be this, wow,
Yeah.
there's another way to still participate and, maybe not experience the same consequences or same old thing that people have been experiencing.
There are a lot of things in this world right now that are dividing everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things I think that's bringing everybody together. And like,
I'll drink to that. I guess kind of circling back here on the branding side of things, how important is your brand image overall? I'm not speaking about you specifically, but in a generic term or generic sense, how important is your brand image to getting people to try it without knowing what's inside?
Well, as you know, I come from concert background, and for me, I've had a passion of the concert poster.
Yep.
And
Creating imagery that goes along with
appeals
it.
to specifically who you want to be at that show.
Mhm.
And if you have something that appeals to the right person and they see it and they come and they enjoy it, like that's a full circle, to me, that's like the best thing ever. You can utilize a local artist. I feel like I was inspired by Grateful Dead and like the 60s and 70s, Family Dog, even though I didn't really know it. I had a friend tell me that I was literally like walking in the footsteps or shadows or in the wake of Chet Helms, Family Dog founder. So I went and looked up Chet Helms and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's the coolest guy ever. I had no idea who he was, but I was literally like loyal family. And they're like, oh, is that from Family Dog? Was that your inspiration? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I was like out there and like on the West Coast at that time, like meeting a lot of like dead family and people. And it was like trying to figure out my way and all that stuff. But anyway, the way they had, one of my friend's dads worked at, I forget the name of the theater, but it's where the Dead played in the late 60s. And it was like the opening of the theater. I want to say it was maybe the Straight Theater. I'm not sure. But anyway, his dad was working as like a bellboy or something at like the hotel where the theater was, or he was asked to do the poster. And he was just like this kid that like, and he did this poster and it's in like the Art of Rock magazine and it's all this stuff. Like it's an epic story of this concert poster, but he was just this kid that did this concert poster that like was so cool and appealed to the right audience and all that kind of stuff. And it was it was just this story. Like I went and met this guy in San Francisco in a little tiny apartment, and one of his only possessions other than like his pillow was his tube with this original poster in the tube. So anyway, I always had a special just passion for having an artist do a poster that appeals to the people that you want to be at the show. And I think that whole idea is still just like,
Man,
there with me
your
to the
brand
heart.
goes back with me so long because I'm the youngest one at the table.
I was just going to say the same thing though, but like it stands out in my mind of concert posters I've seen over the years. I used to like collect concert posters, and at least 50% of them had something with the loyal
Had a hand on it.
Yep. What were we going to say, Kyle? Sorry.
See,
Just being so young, like, my first introduction, being from Jefferson County, my first introduction to St. Louis and the music scene was going to 2720 and seeing those EDM shows that I was really adamant about at the time, and I didn't even realize it, but I think more what really intrigued me was paying attention to what was going on in the building and all the DJs and how there was a community. And I've always just been interested in entrepreneurship and branding in general. And the minute you walk into 2720, you can start to, at least back in my mind, it still is consistent with what you're doing now, even though you can see that it's evolved to like the new designs on the cans. I'm like, to me, that hits home from when I learned about your brand, but it's evolved to where I know that it's somewhere else now.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. That's like a part of branding that I feel like is just a part of you. Like you just either keep that honest, true, integral part of yourself and your brand as you grow. And that's what makes it really authentic. Because if you're trying to fake it, you're not going to be able to fake it for 7 years. You know what I mean?
I mean, I got to give all props to my designer. And
dude.
he's been a business partner of mine and a friend for 20 years. I mean, he literally walked into Pop's Blue Moon one day in 2003 and was like, just kind of in a little creative block himself, which somehow seems to be what the world brings to me as artists with creative blocks, which is great. I sometimes feel like I'm not actually an artist, and I feel weird saying that, and
You're an art
that's a whole
director,
different thing. But like I feel like I have, my art is helping the artists to execute theirs.
I was thinking about that on the way here, that like a lot of the musicians, I mean, I see Daruba play at Pops a lot. I see like Gerard and Leah play. And it's like, kind of like if you were like looking at the St. Louis music scene from an outside source and you just wanted a quick who's who, like if I was going to invest time and energy into certain musicians, going to Pops Blue Moons where you're going to find the ones who are ready to shoot off that haven't yet shot off yet. And that's the beautiful thing about that establishment is there's no like needed clout to get in there. It's just if you're a true artist and if you connect with Josh, you're going to get in there and play. And that's cool because like other venues are like, you guys are good, but what your Facebook numbers look like, And that's just not as important to me. Even though branding is huge, true art still needs to be the basis as an artist brand.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like there's something about the story with the guy creating the concert poster, like capturing the essence of what's going to happen at that event and like who's going to connect with that and then being able to express it. And I feel like that's something we've been working on lately is really capturing the true essence of what we're doing and being able to speak to the people. And that's something I think about when I think about your brand. I feel like that's something you've hit on. So do you have any tips or thoughts for people that are looking to create and express their essence? Or maybe what that journey's
That's
been.
deep, Cassie.
I'm usually going there. What that journey's been like for you, maybe.
Set aside a day or two a week just to focus on that. I don't know. I mean, I think that is one of the things that I do that's in my heart, and I'm not sure how to tell others exactly how to go about that. Like for me, the visual and the comfort that labels and posters and branding bring to, building a following and building that trust. I think that in the cannabis space and hemp space, there's just so many things going on, so much skepticism, so much information kind of being thrown around that this is, where those brands and the consistency and the proper language on the labels, it provides a safe approach. It provides knowledge. It's the only way to really grow the space is to have the right words on the cans or on any products like that. It's just so important, and it's difficult when you're an entrepreneur and you're a startup and you're trying to, make things happen. And then all of a sudden you realize you should have like 5 more words on your label, but you just printed 10,000 of them. And you're like, what do I do? Like, I know this needs to say, not for pets, but that's 3 words that I don't have on the label, and I really want them on that label, but I have 10,000 of those, and I only have this much money in the bank, and I need to sell those labels so that I can get the next one. You got to make those decisions, and there's no right or wrong. You just kind of got to decide what's right for you. And as far as expressing your vibe and your mission, I mean, it's just be authentic, and as Tenacious D says, always record.
Yeah,
always record.
That's good.
Awesome.
What about like the creative marketing for beverages, especially being a hemp seltzer, right, or a cannabis drink, like shaking everything up by being like, yo, we're here and this is something that you can enjoy and get a good feeling from? That's disruptive, but how do you go about marketing it? Like,
Taro.
Hey, everybody say hello to Taro. So like I was really thinking
Gotta
about
keep
like,
an eye on your cables over there.
so like it's Kevin Smith, right?
Yes.
So like that
AKA Silent Bob.
Silent Bob, right? So like
that
that right there was crushing to me, where it was just like, dude, how did you land that? And 2, like, was that a creative marketing strategy, or was that just something that kind of fell into your lap and you're like, obviously we got to go with this?
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely, I guess, fell into our lap. I would say that's the combination of one good friend in the industry, Anthony Spina. He just released, him and his partners just released Primer, which is a mindful hard seltzer brand that has a 9-pack with 3 0% non-alcoholic hard seltzers in the 9-pack for people that want to have something for all occasions. So it's a really forward-thinking. They have a 5%, 8%, and 0, and that's super cool. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's Anthony. Side tangent. Cool. But Anthony, who we talk like once a week, he was on the White Claw team when it blew up. He has Old Style and PBR. Like he's been in the industry. Super smart dude. So we talk like once a week and just keep in touch because we know we have so much in common and we're going to help each other out. And it's, just friends. And one day he's like, hey, my buddy is doing this tour for Kevin Smith. He does these pop-ups and they're coming to St. Louis and they always partner with a local brewery. He's like, do you think you could help us hook us up with a local brewery? Because I know you have contacts in town. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Second Shift and Modern are going to do a collab. It's going to be awesome. And that worked out. So anyway, I figured out that Kevin Smith had wanted his own cannabis seltzer and apparently had like a tough time getting it, or had a company that told him he maybe would be able to, and then he didn't. So he had his hopes kind of crushed. And so when I offered this to the agent, he was like, oh, Kevin's going to be all about it. He's like, send us samples. If he likes it, we're doing it. And so we sent him samples, and the St. Louis show happened like really fast. And they're like, okay, just do the St. Louis show. We'll have that as like a test run. The samples were great. If the St. Louis show goes good and all the reviews come back, and proof of concept, then you guys can go on the road and do all the shows nationwide. And at that point, there were like 20 shows booked all across the country. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So this is pretty cool. This is a new, like I hadn't, really thought about really making stuff for a brand like that. I mean, I was obviously here to private label and help other people get their brands going, but a licensing deal wasn't necessarily what I had in mind. It's just not the way my brain works. It's like, I'm going to go find somebody popular and link up with them and that'll get my brand going. It's like, I'd rather create a good product and have that person be interested and then go that route. But Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, like there's not many people like that in the world. You're like, holy smokes. Like this is actually a really authentic dude that like is known in the movie business for not doing what the movie industry wanted him to do, and everyone told him he had to do. He's like, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
I'm going to do what I think is right, no matter what. And he was literally, that's why he's not major top level or whatever. He is in my mind. But as far as other people or the movie industry is concerned, he might be a little lower level but it's literally he just wouldn't give in.
But with a cult following and a really niche audience that loves Silent Bob, you know, so it's like
he was pre-social media,
right?
So he was like an early adopter to the internet, and he was, you know, to chat podcasts and chats and things like. He's a storyteller, and,
right?
And he embraced the technology and the things that came along that helped him be a storyteller to so many more people at once, and for them to allow a following to even happen. You know, he was smart enough to take advantage of some of those tools and innovate in a way that, you know, I went to the opening of his podcast theater in New Jersey. You know, like he opened a podcast theater, which in itself is a pretty awesome idea that a lot of people are like, wait, what? Like what? You know, because live, you know, the live interaction, even 100 people in the room, that's a real on the pulse feeling, you know, and it's something that his personality is, you know, gravitates towards, just that interaction with real humans. Even if you're one of the biggest podcasters out there, you still want to have a room full of real people.
It's really cool to see what branding can do to like lead you down a road of not even knowing that you would be potentially working with someone who you've seen on big screen TV.
Yeah. So branding, for example, and graphics, and my buddy Steve, we did a branding package for them that kind of smashed our brand together with theirs. It was the Movies pop-up, which is purple and has these cows. And I mean, this is branding that has been, this is like now iconic branding from the movies. You know, movies, when it's in the movies, it's in 3 different movies. Right. So he took this fast food restaurant scene and put it into 3 different movies so that people are like, you become a cult following of the fast food restaurant that literally doesn't even exist in real life.
Right.
And then goes and puts it on a tour of having an artist turn places into this actual restaurant. So it's all just fun and creative, and which is like right up my alley. And I'm like, okay, so we give them these labels, and they're like, these look awesome. Like, holy smokes, would you want to like go on tour with us, go to every show, we'll sell these online, like do all the things. And I was like, well, why don't we just do all the things for all your brands, and you have all this content. Like he's very good at owning his content. And so you have Jay and Silent Bob, you have Buddy Christ, you have Blunt Man and Chronic, you have all these things, this graphics and all this stuff and you have a cult following like no other that are just ready to swoop it up. You know, you can put out a bob and head doll or a lunchbox or a sweatshirt or a seltzer water, and they're like, bam, we love Kevin, we love that stuff. And because he's so authentic and most of his stuff's all quality, and you just kind of, there's a lot of synergy there.
Right.
And he had a heart attack a few years ago. He's no sugar, no alcohol. He's vegan. So he's like, everything our label says is literally, he's like, whoa, you know, like, wait, sugar-free cannabis drinks? We're like, yeah, like we can even make these into dispensaries for you. And he's like, all right, we want to do that too.
Well, can we talk about that for a second? Just the idea of the sugar-free and the simplicity of what is in the can of your products. What that means to you and why you went that direction with everything you're doing.
Yeah, overall, it's the less is more. That kind of probably sums up our approach to this. But, you know, I don't have a sweet tooth. So I could go down a conversation on either of those on which is more important as to how we got here. But I wanted to make sure there were beverages out there that I would enjoy, and not having a sweet tooth, just having no interest in the sugar sweetness thing. There's nothing out there, you know, gummy bears and cookies and sugary drinks. I mean, there wasn't any options.
And it still doesn't seem like, if you're looking for medicine, I know me and you had this conversation recently, but looking for medicine that isn't packed with all these other additives to get it to you. I mean, this seems to be, I don't know if it's the most natural way to get it, but
Yeah,
it seems
water,
to be very effective. And
water bubbles and organic flavors. The bubble acts as a natural preservative, so we don't have to pack preservatives in there, which is what a lot of products have. So there's all the things help us get to that final point. But really, less is more. The less you put in there, the less there is to grow, the less there is to preserve. You can less calories. It's like all the things that people are looking for. You just have to not put things in there.
I think all of us can attest to just overall how great the flavor is in comparison to just kind of coming into this business myself. I didn't really know much about the wide array of things that were available as far as beverages go. But just because you can put it in a can and put it out there with whatever additives you want to put in there, whether that's stevia to sweeten it up a little bit, or just in general, it doesn't. The other products in this market that I've seen, not Mighty Kind products, of course, but the taste seems to be a little off. And I wonder, is it something different in the process that you're providing that allows that to happen, or just that much care in what's inside the can?
Yeah, I mean, long story short, without boring everyone, we don't process the extract as far as most companies in this space. So there's a lot of people out there that talk about nanotechnology and applying it to the cannabis space or to food and beverage in general, and it's been used for a long time in pharmaceuticals, and it's proven that it does work. But when you apply that to this particular space, there's a downfall, and that is the flavor. And we find that there's a better way to do things without processing it so much. Mm-hmm. So we don't claim to nanoize things. That's a pretty intense claim, and I think a lot of the people claiming to do it can't really back up what they're doing.
And it seems like maybe they're covering up.
And there's a lot of unknown
with some other thing.
Yeah, it forces. So, in my experience, the smaller you go with the particles, the more bitter the flavor. So we try to.
Why would you want to
only go as far as we need to go to make it function? Instead of, some people feel like, for example, it needs to be clear to be good. Mm-hmm. They don't like the foggy look or the haziness of the cloudiness of like our waters have a white cloudy look to them. I like that, actually.
There's something in there.
The beer world went through this clear versus hazy and which is better, and if it's not pure, or if it's not clear, it's not pure, and that whole thing. And I just don't really buy into all that. No. So I'm not going to make something taste worse just to make it look better. It doesn't. There's really nothing there for me. I think that, there's balance in what we do, and we're trying to apply what we've learned to this very specific scenario, and not just kind of take something that's known to work and do a certain thing and assume that it's going to work in this, in this category. So I feel like for us, it's we're choosing taste and function as our priorities.
Talking about function, what can a person expect whenever they crack into a Mighty Kind manufactured beverage? I mean, we know that it tastes great, but I guess it kind of relates back to things being broken down small. What would be the purpose of doing that?
I mean, we say we micronize because it's not nanoizing. It's we're definitely breaking particles down small enough for them to blend with the water, to dissolve in the water, and that does allow for a faster absorption in your body. You feel this quicker than a product that's made with oil that has to go into your stomach and be broke down and hit the stomach acids and activate, and so there's definitely a quicker onset time when micronizing or even nanoizing things. I think that's another thing where sometimes people that nanoize are like, well, our stuff works in 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm like, well, if 4 to 5 minutes makes it taste twice as good, then I'm gonna go with 4 to 5 minutes.
Right.
I don't. That's one of those things where you can argue all these different ways of doing things, but like, do you need it to be 2 minutes? Like, because I don't know, 4 minutes is cool.
How
it
would you
tastes
say the
that much better.
quality of the products that are going into these drinks and stuff, not specifically with Mighty Kind, but across the board, how do you feel that the current market is? Is there a big focus on super high quality products going in, or is it more just about price and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I find normally, and there's some exceptions to the rule, but the bigger the company gets, the less quality control is there. And I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of a bold statement, I guess.
Blanket
But
statement too. But I
yeah,
feel
it's
you.
probably too blanketing. But I think there is a lot of money out there attempting to be first to market.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the priority, and what they talk about at the office is we have a lot of money and we need to be first to market. It's not always like we have a lot of money and we want to be the best product on the market.
We want to provide the best value to consumers.
Right. We want to be the most affordable drink on the market. Like, you don't always hear people coming to the table and saying that, you know, and if they do say that, then they don't attach the quality with the affordable, or, you know, but to have all those things, and again, balance. I mean, you can't make the best product. It's hard to make the best product in the world and also be the cheapest.
Oh yeah.
That may or may not be possible.
I think it really depends on what kind of experience the end consumer is really looking to have. If you're looking to have that low end in the gutter experience, or if you want to be on a cloud.
Yeah, a CBD can in my hand from the gas station that doesn't tell me anything about the amount of CBD in it or anything, versus a quality product which you can actually feel good about consuming and know what's in it. You know, the affordability factor is going to vary a little bit there. It might not be 57 cents, but are you getting a better value for your dollar? I would argue probably, you know.
I think that's what I really love about these is like when you were talking about how they're made and what's in them, and it's clean and clear. That's kind of the experience I get from the CBG personally. But the quality of what I've noticed in the hemp world is there are a lot of people right there just wanting to get first to market, capitalize on this new opportunity and this market share, and people out there that have had poor experiences with if they pick up another kind of seltzer or they pick up a CBD product that wasn't made well or doesn't have the same kinds of integrity that I feel is, you know, that Mighty Kind is coming with and that we're really striving to have. It's taken some education. So there's education for the people that are new to hemp, and then there's education for the people that had poor experiences. And I was just thinking about the CBD seltzer we've had in our fridge for like 3 months, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could drink that. But there's so many, and it's got some, you know, fancy, maybe some healthy ingredients. Yeah, but all these preservatives, I'm just like, man.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. I mean, some of it is a challenge. It's one of the big challenges of the movement is to deal with the poor quality stuff that comes out. You know, I am often more excited when there's a quality product,
Right.
even if it's competition, because it's helping
It steps the game
move the game forward. Yeah, and ultimately that's how everyone wins. And the more, you know, I mean, sometimes I kind of smile when a product isn't good too, because I'm like, oh, our best competition is
you're onto
literally
something there.
not competition at all.
Right.
You know? Like,
I would say my experience with the brand we just mentioned, I went in to sell it at the liquor store, and he's like, oh, you got to try these ones here, and gave me a couple to try. I was like, I'm excited. I got this new thing to try, see what it's like out there. Crack it open, and this thing exploded all over me. My pants are wet, my shirt's wet. I can't even go on, you know, to the next meeting for the day because it was a bad experience from the get-go. So I really just I think we all respect what you're doing, Josh, and it's amazing to see the growth that's happening just in our friend circles, but in the community as a whole. Some of the collaborations you're working on, like, it's just a really exciting time to be here doing this now and know that we've kind of seen this from a 20-year span of how the music community is starting to latch onto this idea too. And I'm hoping that in the future some of these venues are offering every single bit of what we've got here.
right.
Where do you
Yeah.
see the future of this industry, and do you see a larger integration in the concert community and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm in talks with a whole bunch of different music groups of doing their own lines of drinks. So I mean, that's going to be a wave this year. I have massive global bands that are like, what? We can get our own drink,
Right.
kind of a thing. And it's just a matter of I'm not really. I've been pushing off one band that's like so big I'm not even going to say their name, but I've been pushing them off now for like 4 months. And it's a weird feeling because you're pushing off this mega band, literally, that has already been sent the drinks. They liked them. They sent back all these positive reviews because at the time I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll send samples out tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, they're actually interested. Like they want to work. They want to release their own line of drinks. I'm like, they're so big, I can't really just be like, yeah, sure, let's do this. Like I have to
Have everything in line.
yeah, you got to have a plan from start to finish when you go and talk to people like that.
Yeah.
They're like big band, and they're still active too. So I mean, they've got I don't know what, $100 million machine running or whatever. It's a big machine of merch and concerts and dates and things, and so it's like, and really it was the Kevin Smith agent that was like, all he did really was like, maybe the guy down the hall overheard it and was like, hey, you got a drink deal for Kevin I saw or whatever? And he's like, you think I could, could you connect me with that guy? I got a few acts that want to, and then he says like some of the biggest acts in rock and roll. And it's like, whoa, like that's crazy to even think about. But it is like that space is so exciting and all the endorsements, all the people like ambassadors, all these A-list artists, stars out there that are partnering up with liquors and wines and all these different drinks, and energy drinks and all that kind of stuff. Like this is such an interesting space, and it's going to reach out into so many different worlds.
Right.
Whether it's CBD or CBG or D8 or D9 or whatever, there's just a world of different things from yoga and sports to music and arts and just none of the above, all the other things, just wellness in general being the next $1 trillion industry.
Drone racers,
It's
gamers,
just,
it's all over the
it's
place,
endless.
man.
Yeah. It's just, it has the ability to, and not being an alcohol product, you can ship stuff nationwide. There's a handful of states that you can't ship certain things to, but for the most part, you can go everywhere with it.
Yeah.
So for a brand to be able to connect with their audience on it in a new way like this is really fun. I talk a lot about how like you can only fit so many things in like your profile pic, and like your drink is one of them. And it's like you have your hat, your sunglasses, maybe your shirt, or whatever, and that's it. There's nothing else that really fits, but your drink is like a huge identifier of who you are.
Oh, yeah.
And or it can be. It doesn't have to be. But
I never really thought about that, but
there's just,
everybody's got their drink, their thing that they do.
it's like right there. It's just even here. There's like, you can't see what shoes I'm wearing right now.
No.
But my drink, and it's like either I'm having a coffee and either I have my own cup and I'm recycling, or I got a cup. I'm causing my carbon footprint's big because I got big old styrofoam coffee cups. It's like it just says so much about you right away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to, but I'm just saying it can.
It's
a gem
interesting
right there,
because
Can speak.
it's interesting. You could take that really far with, how much we need water, and not saying that you could replace water with these drinks, but the drink as, what becomes part of us and what keeps us going.
Oh yeah, it's definitely basic need of survival at the core, for sure.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we kind of nailed all the topics I wanted to chat about today. Unless anybody's got anything else, questions they got for Josh or questions you got for us, man. We're just happy that you took time out of your day to talk to us.
I appreciate you joining me here at the new spot.
Awesome, man.
Happy to chat anytime.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining the podcast.